to Do Good Work Podcast, hosted by Terrell Strayhorn and Jaquin Johnson. We specialize in taking a deep dive into issues that truly matter. Each episode unpacks the challenges and opportunities facing today's leaders, from classrooms to boardrooms, offering insights that inspire real change. By redefining success, we're changing lives, empowering people everywhere to create environments where everyone feels a sense of belonging, whether at home, work, or school. So hey, sit back, relax, grab your favorite beverage, and join us as we explore the issues shaping our futures, one meaningful conversation at a time. Let's go!
Alrighty, and welcome back to everyone to Do Good Work Podcasts. I'm your co-host, Terrell, joined by my co-host,
Jaquin Johnson.
We are so excited to have you here. Y'all know how we do this. Every single week, we got to figure out how to share and like. I see some things happening, so that's good. Thank y'all. If you don't mind sharing on the various platforms and resharing so that we can make sure folks know that it's time for the show. How are you feeling over there, Jaquin?
Feeling good. The weather is not as nice today. I thought it was gonna be much more sunnier, but it's like gloomy. But I see you got a new look today. A haircut?
I do. I have no hat on for those who have watched my hair journey for the past, I have no idea, long time. So
It looks good on you. It looks good.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. I'm sharing on Facebook. We are on X. I don't know why. If you go to X, can you get the hashtags to show up?
Mm-hmm.
I tried resharing from Do Good Works, but
X. I don't know why.
When I did that, that's me. It won't put hashtags for some reason. Anyway, if anybody's on X, can help us out too. You can share from Do Good Works page at Do Good Work, or my page at TL Strayhorn. And while we're doing that, let me go ahead and make sure I pull up LinkedIn, because we have folks on LinkedIn who say, I listen, and y'all never talk to me. And so we don't want you to feel left out. Appreciate you for tuning in, and looking forward to a really great show. We've got quite a bit to cover, and we've got exciting things yet to come. Listen, if you have not already, while you're pulling that up, Jaquin, are you popping your knuckles?
Can you hear that?
People in
Oh my goodness. Okay, the audio is definitely working.
The audio is working. To everybody in Africa who heard that,
Sorry.
Madagascar in the house. Everybody heard that. Wow. Why do you pop your knuckles like that?
I don't know. I think I just do it, out of habit. Yeah, just pop them because, they're there. They're working.
To be popped.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm here for it. So did you get any?
And I'm pretty sure there's a health professional out there who says you should not do it, but.
Oh, I'm sure. There are health professionals everywhere to tell us
Thank you.
Do anything. You did get hashtag to pull up?
No, I did not.
Meaning you tried and it didn't pull up for you?
Trying. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe did he block hashtags now?
You know he's in battle with his friends, so that could be it.
Right. Well, okay, I did get it this time. All right. Try from your phone if you don't mind. Okay. Well, while I do that, and I'm gonna let you share out, Jaquin, I'm going to show the flyer and then kick off this show. So, for those of you who have not yet seen the full episode, we did get the episode posted for Mayor Paul Young. So go to our Actually, I'll put it in the chat. Go to our Spotify channel for the podcast and be sure to listen to that full interview. So what we did was, and we'll do this, going forward, unless you all tell us you don't like it and you want us to do something different. Um, we will, you know, post the full interview on our Spotify page. So you'll see episode 32. That's the mayor's episode 32. That's the one that if you watched us talk about it, um, it's there. But episode 32.2, so the second part, is the full length in-person interview with Mayor Paul Young. If you are interested, you can listen to all episodes of Do Good Work podcast on Spotify here. All right, hopefully that gets out. Okay, so that's there. And the other cool thing that we did is we finally had time to get all of the episodes together. And so we want to make sure that you know that if you go to our Spotify channel, you can watch all the episodes of Do Good Work podcast. But the other thing is we have one particular flyer that I want to call your attention to, because some folks say, hey, I miss, what's this called? uh, Senator Oliver. And some people said, no, I heard her, but I missed Professor Watson. And so we hear you, we see you, you are seen and heard. And so if I can get this is called stalling right now. In a second, it'll come up, I guess. Do you have it on hand, Jaquin?
I'm sure I can grab it.
Oh, never mind. My computer heard me. About to replace it. Okay, so talk us through this, Jaquin.
Yeah, so this is the flyer that we created, I think, a couple of days ago and posted it on our Do Good Work podcast, or on our all of our social media platforms. And what it's showing you is that we've had various people on our show, giving pretty good insights into the work that they do, whether it's higher education or in politics. And we have Kevin James on the show at one point, Elwood Watson, Paul Young, most recently, that has been posted, and it tells you the episodes. So if you missed it, Kevin James was episode 21. Donald Comer was episode 18, all the way to Hassan Jeffries was episode 20. So if you're interested in any of them, if you missed it, go to Do Good Work podcast on Spotify and scroll through to the person that you want to listen to.
Awesome. I was gonna say, I mean, you got any special highlights, memories of any of these 6 podcasts?
Yeah, I mean, Elwood really tapped into the history of America, and that Black Americans are part of the history, and we must talk about it. Hassan Jeffries kind of tapped into some of that energy as well, coming from more of a, he insights with his brother and how politics really play a role. And then, Charlene Oliver really shared with us, pretty boldly, honestly, and transparently about politics is real, and it's about scratching one's back to get what you need out of it for your constituents. Donald Comer talked about his institution, I think it's Lane College, and the things that they're doing along with Kevin James, that their institution is, Resurgence.
Yeah, the Resurgence.
Talked about his institution, all the things that they're doing for their students in Atlanta, and how they're growing in numbers, and all the work that they're doing. So again, all of these amazing leaders talked about the good work that they're doing and sharing some insights of what they're doing, and also how you can be a part of solving issues that we face today.
Yeah, it's awesome. All right, so let's get into today's episode. Before we go there, playing the game. You going
Let's get into it. You know, we do this every week, right?
every week?
Every week, using the first letter of your last name, describe the essence of your week or your day. I'm Johnson, so Jay. You are Strayhorn, so I believe that starts with an S. Kick us off.
Wait, is it me?
Your turn.
Okay. So today I thought about this. My my word is safe. 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 So I was driving down the street this morning, and I actually was talking to my sister, and out of nowhere, you know how these little kids are selling candies and stuff on the corner. I noticed like 3 or 4 of them on the corner throwing ball. They had like boxes, so I figured they're probably selling candy bars or something. But as I was approaching the intersection, I realized there was another one who was actually standing in the middle of traffic. And he like, as I'm coming up to stop, he walks right in front of my car. And just as my car started beeping, I had applied the brake. And I just thought, man, I'm watching, paying attention, talking, but also very keenly aware of my surroundings. Had I not been, he would have been hit today. It was just that close. There's no way in the world I would not have hit him. And so I just thought about summertime, kids are out of school. If they're not yet, they will be soon. And so just to remind everyone, you got to be safe out here, know your surroundings, anticipate people's moves. My last sort of example is I went to the store, got a couple things as I was going to go find breakfast at First Watch. That's not a plug unless y'all want to endorse our podcast. But I went to First Watch, and as I was parking my car, I saw the sign that said, please lock your vehicle, remove all personal belongings, or keep them out of sight. And, I sort of looked around my car and thought for a second, do I have anything that I need to be aware of? So again, it's that time of year where, stuff happens. And so just being safe is what's on my mind. What about you, Jay?
I love it. Yeah, it's important for us to be safe in this world, especially in today's time, and I'm sure in the future as well. My word would be, honestly, it came to me, it happened to me yesterday. And as I was thinking about it for today's episode, it's jealous. Now, I know it's easy to be jealous because of all the things we see on social media that we believe someone else is doing better than us, but that's not the case. I'm jealous because you and I are not in the same location, and we had such great energy yesterday with the work that we were doing. And, we said multiple times, like, man, I wish we were together so we can do this. We were creating some things for social media, and it's kind of hard to do it virtually, right? Because we were creative by saying, okay, what we can do is share our screen and then talk through whatever we're doing. But so I would say jealous. I wish that we had some time to be in person and get some work done.
I'm here for it. We need it. But listen, maybe there's a pickup there, right? So I'm thinking about, you're right. We innovated in the moment. Now, by the way, anyone out there who's listening, put your word in the chat. Think about your last name. Drop in the chat what word it is for you. We'll share it on the screen. Y'all know how we do. But I'm thinking about, we talk about this a lot, and we even write about it a bit more. And that is belonging. And the reason why belonging is so important is because we're not wired as humans to be alone. Loneliness is an epidemic. Yes, COVID was an epidemic, is an epidemic, but so too is loneliness. And if people don't know, there are record numbers of Americans right now in 2025, summer. Everybody's talking about being outside. Everybody's not trying to be outside. Some people are really keeping themselves inside because they're battling depression, anxiety, right? This worry about being alone. There is this sort of movement called being together apart and learning strategies for connecting with people at a distance. So if you are an app developer, software developer, listening to this podcast or will be sent the podcast, we do need to think more about collaborative tools. So, you're talking about specifically creating videos, right, and creating social media. We can go into Canva,
Mhm.
canva.com. That is a shout out to them. Y'all should endorse the show. Um, and both of us can work on a flyer together. You can move something to the right, I'll see it. I move it to the left, you can see it, right? Um, if you all know, put it in the chat, but we're not aware of any video developing software that allows two people to collaborate like that. And so because we prefer to sort of be in real time working with each other on it, we said, hey, what we'll do, go into Zoom, share the screen, one of us sort of control it, but we both have input into it. So if you're
Mhm.
out there, you're feeling physically disconnected, socially isolated, you're looking for ways to connect, you're working on a project, find someone who can hop in the screen with you and just work on the project with you. You don't have to be working on the same thing. One could be working on a recipe, the other one could be building a house for birds. Whatever you got to do, if you need that kind of connection, you can use your what are these things called? Smart devices. So FaceTime. I don't know what it's called on Android devices, but they have something like FaceTime, Google Chat. If you find yourself feeling socially isolated, long periods of loneliness, empty, do not sit in that emotion, because we just published a piece in Psychology Today and several blogs we'll put on the social media. But the body processes those moments as trauma. It processes it as pain. And so, extended periods of loneliness, the impact on your body is like using substances. It's
Mm.
unhealthy, it's negative, it's damaging. So I just want to say that think about ways you can connect with people using different devices.
Yeah, that kind of segues into like maybe one of our topics is that you and I truly value each other's input, and it's not just hearing what we say; it's taking what is said and trying to apply it to the project, right? Because we both want to see each other's work and words, kind of, in it, because it's something that we're both producing.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's then, let me see. I'm supposed to do this. Let's see if I can find it. I don't remember which one it is, so y'all got to forgive me, but we're going to hear this one probably. All right. So let's think about job, right? Can you hear me?
Kinda.
Oh, okay. I guess when it's playing, you can't really hear me. So I was saying, let's think about Job Corner. So part of what we're doing, do not be texting in this episode.
I'm trying to share the link. People are asking me like, where is the link? Listen,
Go to YouTube.
y'all need to
I need my co-host.
be on top of it.
Now.
My goodness, every week asking me the same question that we come in at 8:00,
right,
Eastern time.
What you have to do is you have to share it with people at 7:50. No, yeah, 7:50 your time. So what I've been doing is just share it before the show. Okay, back to what I'm saying. People who need jobs, are looking for jobs, reach out about jobs. We post about jobs. Part of what you're doing to get a job is you have to interview.
Mm.
And we thought we might offer some ideas about that, since we get questions about interviewing. What are your thoughts about? I mean, do you like interviewing for jobs? I mean, what's your general disposition toward it?
I don't mind interviews. I kind of look forward to them because it's an opportunity just to have a conversation about something that's, what I'm implying, because I'm interested and it's important to me. And I think like something that I have learned is it's really important to practice before you walk into the interview. And that is, think about some of the common, questions that are asked in interviews. One is, tell me a little bit about yourself, right? How can I answer that question succinctly, honestly? Yeah, right. Don't give them the history of your entire life and all the things that happened to you and whatever. But, practicing, whether that is recording myself, answering a question and going back listening to it, or, I have.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's helpful, right? Because these are things that I see. So I'm watching myself and I'm being critical, right? Because although we also often say words matter, but body language matters too. Our posture signals something, energy. So those are things that I think about, try to practice. Also, I have trusted friends that I ask to kind of coach me through what are they seeing and what are they hearing me say when I answer a question. So I think that one thing that is important for us to do is practice before we walk into an interview. And listen, you could be in the field for 30 years, you can be in the field for 3 years, but whether it's been 3 years or 30 years, practice is still key.
That's true. I like that. So part of it is making sure that you practice. Practice can look different for different people. I probably have recorded myself before, or I've been recorded. I don't know that I do that on a regular. What I might do is every now and again, I might ask a friend to say, "Hey, I've got this interview coming up. Would you practice with me? Give me some questions." What I do more often than not is I'll give myself questions.
And
And
also let me oh wait,
can you hear me?
Paul's friend. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
You don't have to run through your entire answer, but it's like, here are some of the things, like this is the question that could be answered. Here are some of the things that I'm thinking about as my response.
Yeah.
Right. We've done that before. Go ahead.
Wait, in an interview, you mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, to anyone who's listening, watching, will watch, you want to get through the questions. So the thing that I've learned to do and offer it as a tip to people who are trying to re-enter the workplace, trying to upskill, upgrade, is it is absolutely okay at the beginning of the interview say, look, I'm really excited to have this opportunity to interview. Looking forward to the conversation. I do have a question. How many questions do you have and want to get through in our time together today? Because if you know that they have 5 questions and you got a 30-minute interview, that gives you some idea of how long you need to answer or take on each question. If you, say, if you don't, then you may end up on that question of tell me a little bit about yourself. And I was joking with my sister the other day. I was like, I got to tell you this story. It starts with me in 4th grade. And she was like, if you're going to start in 4th grade, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not going to be listening by the end. Well, that's how some people are in those questions. They'll be like, I'm from Virginia. And before you know it, you're walking me through high school. You can cut across the field on a lot of that because it's in your resume. We've discussed some of that in order for you to even get the interview. So I think 1, ask how many questions. 2, I like the idea of recording yourself, especially if you're doing, a lot of people do phone and video interviews. And, I've been in fellowships, leadership fellowships, where they will do these mock interviews with you. And they'll say things like, Jaquin, no, lower your camera. Can you sit up straighter in the interview? Because, these are companies who say their client makes decisions about us. If you're interviewing and you're like this the whole time, or even like this, you might be fine, but the company will read into that, posture, your expressions. There should be enough of you showing that if you're getting animated and using your hands, they're seeing what kind of leader you are. Anyway, so let's kick around some questions, then we'll go to our main meal. So you said, tell me a little bit about yourself. I'll bite. How would you answer that question? How do you
He said,
question?
I'll bite. Okay, thank you for biting. So I've done a lot of work in admissions, and what I'll talk about is some of the work that I've done. And we talked about last week, I believe, is really being action focused and results focused. So, these are the territories that I've recruited in the past. These are some things I picked up. And, from year to year, enrollment has grown. How it's grown, by in this area or this state, it's grown by 3%, right? And the goal was, let's say 2%, whatever. And here's how I did it, right? So I made sure that communication was in place. That is automated communication. So when a student completes their application, they automatically get a message from me. I also follow up, making sure it's more personal than generic. I take the time to learn students and what they do. So if they're part of a sports or they're theater, whatever that may be, if I can fit that into my schedule and support them at their event, that's what I do to build that connection, not just with the student, but with the family, because they also are influencers. So those are some things I would touch on.
Yeah. So what I like about it is it's results oriented. It is solid kinds of data, and it's also a segue into something that I know you do, and it's certainly something I do in interviews. That's another it just builds on what you just offered, and that is tell stories. So recall a time when, you know. So if you
Mhm.
think about I don't hear you going long about the name of your high school, where your high school was located, what the street address was.
Man, listen, let's not get it twisted. I'm gonna be real with the people. I have done that before. When I first started, I would be like, "Oh yeah, so I was raised in, I'm gonna say Nashville today, Nashville, Tennessee. I graduated from this school. That I went to this school. Come on now, got it, check."
Right.
But
So
are you distracted? You are distracted.
my audio's not loud. They said yours is super loud.
Oh, so I'm over here shouting.
We listen. We appreciate y'all keeping us on the right way with this show. What we can't say is no.
One thing about the audience, boy, they will let us know. We appreciate you all. We do. You help us improve weekly.
Hopefully this is better. Does it sound better to you?
I can hear you. I don't. Maybe others cannot. We can't hear you at all. Now you got to change the mic.
Yeah. We'll fix it. Or you know what? You shout for me.
Deal.
If I say stuff that's really, really good, shout it to the rooftops. Kind of like you were popping your knuckles earlier. So yeah, I have two. I think the reason why I ask people like how many questions they have is, first of all, I have to say this. It's not because I have any intention of doing it anytime soon, but I actually like interviewing. Um, I like the feeling of like a conversation on purpose. I don't really like the kind of weight of, oh my gosh, I want this job, I need this job or whatever. But the idea of going into a room and talking to people about stuff that you've done, teams you've built, the impact you've made, giving examples, man, it's like a keynote in a package, but it's not, right? It can't be that, because a keynote is one directional largely. Interview is supposed to be an interview, a view inside of someone. And it's not just them interviewing you, you're interviewing them. So you got to have that back and forth. I think the third or fifth point I'm on is good stories. So like you said, solid examples of when you did what you did. But here's something that I also pay attention to, and I know we do, but we may want to offer to people, and that is, you know, pay. How do you say this? Celebrate your people. So like, yes, you're interviewing, but I'm mindful whether I'm interviewing someone or listening to an interview, how many times a person says, I did it, 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 I did it. I did this. And I'm like, well, no one does everything on their own. So there's got to be a better way of, balancing that a bit. Now, here's the other thing is you can't say they did it, they did it, they did it. Because then the question becomes, what
did you do?
Right. And sometimes I've even used we a lot. It's my preferred pronoun for group-based kind of efforts. But if someone's interviewing you for a job as a leader, they are looking to hear like, what specifically did you do? So I might say like, I led a team and we then built this, program that led to these kind of results. Yeah. Okay. So second and last question is, I was talking to someone this week who had an interview and gave them some tips on things they might do for the interview. And one of the questions I asked was, what are your top two or three strengths? and they said, "Oh my gosh, I hate this question. It's so hard for me to answer this." What are your thoughts about that question? And how would you go about answering it?
Like you said, I enjoy interviews. I think it's an opportunity to engage into a conversation about me and them, right? And how can do we make sense, right? So you can feel that. I think I've been in interviews where I've shared my strengths and how I like to work. I can work independently, but I also I mean, I said it earlier, I love being in community. I love thinking with others. That is something that excites me. But I also can feel that energy where, there may be a company where, no, we're not going to be in a conference room and kicking something around and talking about it. That's not our style. That's not our culture. And if I get that sense, then listen, I understand. I know when to say no. But I think that for me, it really depends on the role and what I choose to share. So with recruiting, I would say intentional, relationship oriented, timely, right? These are things that are very important for recruiting, because students want someone that is, kind of relatable. They are intentional with their words. They're intentional with the messages that they're sharing. They're intentional with when they communicate with you. If they're timely with responses, they're timely with updates, they're timely with getting your application through the process. So all these things align or relate to the role that I am applying for. Versus, if I know I've been in what's the thing called, like landscaping, right? I don't think I would use those things, right?
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So these are things. So I think that I would really pay attention to. Also, I'll read the job description, right, and then ask myself, okay, based on the job description, what are some of my strengths that will allow me to do well in this role?
Yeah, that's good. I was mentioning to them, you want to mention things that you can do, right? So a strength is not a philosophical kind of idea like, well, I am, a down to earth person. I mean, yes, but you think about if you're trying to hire someone for a job and you're asking about their strengths, you're looking for the strengths to be tied to the job, right? Ultimately, you're trying to understand why you versus the other people I'm interviewing. What is it that you bring to this role, into this company? And much like the other questions, it's not lay out for me all 500 of your strengths. It's asking you to do some calculus in your mind to say, what are your top 2 or 3 strengths? And maybe you know this from a strengths quest. Maybe you know this because, I tell people, I don't know. Let's try to put each other on the spot. What's one of your top strengths?
Oh, child, I do not know. We did this like a couple weeks ago, right?
I'm just saying, like, and not strengths quest, but I'm saying, like, for you, if you had to name like one of your strengths, I have an idea of something I think is a strength of yours. But what do you think?
Well, go ahead, share it. Share it for the people in the back, so I can shout it out for you.
I mean, I would say that you are quite skilled and strong at it's not multitasking, juggling multiple priorities simultaneously. It doesn't mean you don't drop balls or balls don't get dropped. It's that
pause.
What you said? Foolishness. It's that the average person would be like, wait, write a blog and do social media and prep for the podcast and think about, travel for next week.
Right.
Versus saying, okay, what's my own process for making this manageable? Which, observing and knowing you very well, it's laying it out on the list. It is having conversations to see what's first, what's second, what's third. Can any of these come together in some unique way? How can I balance both sides of my brain, get started on the flyer, put a pin, jump over here to this other thing, and then come back to, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I appreciate that. Yeah. So I'll do one for you. I think that you take something that's very complex, even in our conversations, it's like where we something has happened in our world and we bring it to the table to talk about. And in the moment, it's like, this is what I'm thinking. And I know that through conversation, sometimes you pause for a second. And I think that you're like mapping it out in your mind. And it's like, aha, I got it. And it goes from something that's very complex to it's easy to digest and understand. And then mapping it out. I know that even like for strategic planning, you always talk about think about the end goal and then let's map it out. And time and time again, I've seen it. It's a skill. Many people can't do that. Like people can talk about ideas, but some have a hard time mapping out how to get there. We talk about belonging all the time, and we submit proposals for conferences. And I know most recently we talked about AI and feelings, right? That gets me excited.
Right.
But in that moment, it was difficult for me to like, okay, so what does this look like for us to write about it, for it to make sense, and for it to land, where it's not rocket science, where it's not you reading line by line, like, okay, I get it, but I'm still confused, right? You do a really good job of making something abstract become extremely clear by the end of the project.
Well, thank you. Oh my goodness. So nice. Well, it made me think about the fact we're not going to tell it all. We promise we'll tell y'all, but like what he's talking about, right? We mapped it out. We read, we wrote, we submitted. And later this year, we are being invited.
Oh, come on, somebody. Say it, friend.
To be keynote speakers.
In where?
Conference.
Mm-hmm.
Out of this country.
Yep.
That's pretty cool. I mean, it's just hey, name of the show, Do Good Work. For anybody who, we interviewed the mayor, and he said, people always ask him, how can you be mayor? How can you do good work? How can you whatever? He said it starts with being a good person. And being a good person means, you remember when we first met, I couldn't go 5 minutes without picking on us, right? I would send you something and you'd be like skimming it. I'd be like, did you not catch that sentence on page 3? You're like, I didn't read that thing. I skimmed it. And I was like, no, you have to read it. And then but I also had to learn, I can't just send you 52 things if I expect you to read them, right? So it's give and take. I'm learning about dosage. You're learning about the strategy of moving through the material. But by doing that over now almost 4 years, look what it did for us.
Right.
Doing good work, open a door overseas to come and talk about belonging in AI. Who knew?
But it took time to learn each other, right? Listen, our relationship has evolved over time. You're right. I used to take that information and skim and be like, all right, I'm ready to talk about it. And then you bring up a point. I'm like, I don't know, what are you saying to me? So it took learning each other. I think, listen, friend, my friend would send me 42 articles and expect me to get them done in an hour. Okay. I don't know who could do, maybe you, but not me. Probably. So, it's also like like you said, prioritizing what to read, what you need to know for the project. And there are days where I will read the entire article. There are days where there are some articles where I will skim and go to a certain section because that's what I need for the project.
But guess what he does now, y'all? And Jacob clearly has been following us. Look at this. He says, welcome to Shout Out Saturday. That's what we're doing. All this niceness on the screen. We're shouting each other out. Listen, y'all can use the chat. Shout yourselves out. Tell us what you're doing. If you had a new, something great happen this week. If you had, I don't know, some interviews this week or something that you've been waiting on, shout it out. We'll share it on the screen. But then also, if you have a strength that you have, you're proud of this strength. It's been your secret sauce to find success. Drop it in the chat. Let people know. We'll put it on the screen for you.
You picked that. Listen, I know this wasn't part of the show, but you just said it. It's a Shout Out Saturday, and I think that want some of the audience to engage in. Like, what is something that you're like? What are you working on right now that you're excited about?
Yeah, me.
Who else is on this screen?
Okay, I'm gonna give you that one. We're having too much fun. Let me see if I can show you. because this one, it means a lot to me, actually. I hope I don't get emotional talking about it though. I need this in order to tell it. But several folks, including obviously you, um, know that, one of the things I enjoy doing is research. And research is not just like analyzing data and publishing it in papers for me, although that's a major part of it. It's also the dissemination of information. And I often tell the story of my maternal grandmother, Ma, is what we called her, who helped raise me. And when she was alive, my grandma would say, she would just like my mom and my dad, um, have supported me my entire life, love all of them. And I remember Ma would have copies of my book on her in her living room, like on her coffee table. Shout out to my mom who has my books as well. Thank you, Mom, for all your love and support. Um, but I know that my grandma, when she was alive, she had these books. And so I remember one day being in Trenton, North Carolina, I said, "Hey, Ma, which of my books is your favorite?" And she said, I've never read them books." And I was like, "You never read my books?" She was like, "No, them books are too long, honey." So one day I remember she said, I don't even know, I probably had like 3 or 4 books out at the time. She said, "You know what? I'm going to read one of your books. Which one of your books do you recommend?" She said, "Now, honey, I want a good one. I want to be able to pour my coffee and read this book, and there's going to be some good stories in there." And I thought about it. I said, "You should don't read any of my books, because none of my books had good stories in it. It was just data and theory and words. And they were logical, and they probably made the point, right? But were they interesting consistently? I'm not sure. Was it the best kind of writing? I would say no, because some of my best writing is more recent. So anyway, um, now that I've had those moments and the other reason why it's really important to talk about my grandma is she was a public school teacher, and she's part of our audience, right? So if we're writing stuff and public school teachers can't get through it, then what's the point of writing it?
Mm.
She was one who helped me realize the power of not just textbooks and journal articles, but blogs and podcasts and emails and magazine articles. We went through a couple of those this week. Whatever it takes to get the message out. And so you said a project that I'm really excited about right now is one that has been, wow, it's been on my list for a while. This is not the real cover of the book, but it is an image that was created for it. So I've been working on a book called Student Sense of Belonging and Involvement in College.
Hmm.
And it's a book that brings together chapters talking about the power of belonging, but especially with college students being involved in activities on and off campus. And so I started the book several years ago, probably 2 years ago, got the contract, started working on it. COVID was happening, so that delayed some things. I since then lost my dad, that delayed some things, but I'm proud to say that with the support of my friend who's on the screen, we were able to get this project together, hand deliver it to the publisher, and that book is now in production, and it should come out by the end of the year. So I'm super duper excited about that, because with this book now in production, I can move on to these other two. One of them is the Workplace Belonging book. I've been talking about that for some time. I'll finish that up hopefully sometime this summer if we can get away to write. I'll stop there. What about you? Something you read?
Yeah, I said, listen, we did work on that book together, and go buy it once it comes out. You will not be disappointed in it. The words are extremely intentional. It's a conversation. It tells a story. It helps people really understand taking belonging and applying it to anywhere you go. Yes, listen, it's about students and their involvement on campus, but you can apply it to the workplace too if you really sit with the words.
Yeah.
I've seen it as the words were being typed on the screen, and one should get emotional because it's powerful. I've seen you write a paragraph and delete the entire paragraph. I've seen you type a word and sit with it and say, "I'm not using that word. That's not the word for this sentence." And I think that the readers, gentle readers, will be very appreciative once they purchase it and get it in their hands or on their laptops, however you want to read it.
Well,
For
I have to
me,
say this: if you're going to be nice, since it's shout out Saturday, I'll let you go and tell us what you're excited about. But I do really thank you. I appreciate you for that. Um, for lots of things, but this book kind of unraveled around the time that I lost my dad. And I just didn't have the wind to finish a chapter. It's like, I don't know if you've ever, not just you, but people in the listening audience, if anything ever happened to you where it's just like it knocks the wind out of you and you just, words don't make sense. And I remember telling you that. And you said, we'll do it together. And so we co-authored 2 chapters in the book. And people may ask, like, how did he end up authoring a book or authoring a chapter in the book? The book started before you even, well, it's not before I knew him. It started 2 years after I knew him. It's because at a time where I was weak, my friend helped me be stronger. And I really thank you, because I think those 2 chapters were not just cool times for us to come together and write, but it got better, right? That's how ideas are. You have good ideas, but when you start letting iron sharpen iron, it gets better. Now, it's the last chapter of that book. You remember the epilogue?
Come on now. I know. I know the epilogue. I know where I was when the epilogue was written. Well, I was in a car with the laptop open.
The epilogue is everything. So again, thank you. Love and light. Appreciate you.
Absolutely. That's what friends are for, period. It's not about, for some, it's not about the chapter. It's about helping someone get them across the finish line, because I knew how much the book was, how important it was for you. And if I can be any, help, then that's the goal. I think for me right now, again, we enjoy writing. So anything that has to do with writing, I'm probably going to get excited about it. Thinking through a communication plan for international students. And it has been a challenge, to say the least, because, for me, writing is powerful because, words matter, and through intention, it can truly tell a story, and it can help someone understand what to expect on your campus. And, I know that I think sometimes recruiters get into this traditional way of writing that is so transactional and it's so bland and boring, and it is what it is. But, I'm trying to create a feeling, right? And tell a story and help international students understand that they do belong on this campus, whether you are, a prospective student or in the inquiry stage, or you already submitted your application, wherever you are in the journey through the admissions process, you understand that this message was really for you, right? You know how you go to church and the pastor's talking through his sermon, and while he's going through his message, you're like, man, did he write this for me? Or did she write this for me? Or did they write this specifically for me? Indeed, right? So, for me right now is really thinking through, what do international students need to know based on where they are in the process, and let them know that no matter what you're going through, no matter if you can get your materials in right now or get them in next week, or maybe you don't have the finances, at the end of the day, we're here to support you. Yeah. So I'm really excited about, it's starting from scratch, all the way from the inquiry stage to deposit.
That's really important. Jacob, congratulations. He got a
promotion.
We got promotions in the house,
and a pay raise. Go get that bag.
No more time cards. That
okay.
Matters. That doesn't matter. Congratulations, Jacob. Proud of you. On behalf of Do Good Work, the whole entire team, we had to find a way to celebrate you even further. But as you were talking, Jaquin, I'm thinking it's about belonging. Belonging is about mattering, and mattering and belonging have to be communicated. They have to be messaged. And so this plan you're working on sounds like, I'm aware of it because of course we talk about it, but it is exciting work, because belonging is a feeling, but it doesn't happen automatically. It has to be conditioned, cultivated, and built. Some people will fall on the floor at the brilliance of that observation. Some people will say, that's not rocket science. We already know that. There are a lot of things that we know that we need to have restated. Most people know you shouldn't kill people and you shouldn't steal, but yet There are people killing and stealing out there in the world every day. We have laws that reinforce these messages, teachers who teach these messages. So there is wisdom in the in the repetition of the obvious. But the other part that I hear us often saying is people want belonging to just occur. Students come to campus and they just feel it. And we say it time and time again, just get it out, Terrell. The point is you got to plan it. You have to plan it, right? If you want international students to feel a sense of belonging, what are the messages that you're planning to deliver? What are the events that you're planning to involve them in? What are the moments that you're planning to create? You got to plan the work and then work the plan.
Mm-hmm.
And
right.
I think too many times people underestimate the importance of what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's like, you know, when you say communication plan, it's not all about just blasting out emails. You know, what I've learned through our work too is like the power of a blog, right? Yeah. A short message with a link to a blog about the college experience at that institution. An AI video that is 2 minutes long, right? That has a powerful message or that shares information about next steps. Yeah. All the, well, you know, in the plan, what I've read through the research preparing for is that, you know, we don't have to write 5 paragraphs. Can you get it in 250 words?
Right.
That's the real challenge right there. Like, what am I trying to say? Can I be succinct enough to get it in 250 words? Because people have busy lives. No one is like me and sit there and go through email by email, reading them word for word. Yeah. Right. People are, you know, taking the train to school. They are going from school to work. They are picking up their sister. They're making dinner. Like, yes, my education is important to me, but I don't have time and the capacity to read a book.
Right.
You know? So tell me what you need to say. Like you said earlier, like, get it out, Terrell. Yes, please get it out. It's, you know, you're talking about planning. They got the plan. So what, you know, we said earlier, I think what you said earlier too, is like anticipating their needs. Mm-hmm. And they need information that is succinct and concise and to the point.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing they need, and we'll sort of maybe head toward home on these points. Other thing I think they need, we know they need, according to research, is they need a welcoming, safe, secure, supportive environment, both on and off campus. So as an international recruiter, international admissions counselor, like, what's happening in y'all's world nowadays with all the travel bans and the efforts around delayed visas? We should talk about this, right?
Yeah, this is one of the largest challenges right now for, you know, international students, recruiters who you know, help them through the process. And it's me. What we say earlier, my mom is watching, so it is challenging time for them, right? It's a lot of uncertainty around it, you know. And what is the messaging? What is it signaling to them is that they're not wanted. And, you know, I did not make this decision, right? But I'm left to deal with it. These students didn't make the decision. They didn't do anything to our leader here, but it's all about, you know, I believe if the leader likes the country or not. Like, he's banned certain countries, right? You handpicked who can enter, who cannot. So, you know, with that being said, I think that there are some students who, if you've already scheduled your visa interview, you will get that interview, right? Okay. But now the question is, okay, I have my visa, but does the US want me there, right? Because of all these things. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
you're saying you could admit me to college. I could be admitted to college, but can't get a visa to actually travel to the country. Mm-hmm. And therefore I'm not going to college.
So you're not going to college. Yeah. Is
not in the US. Wow.
Halted your academic plans and pursuit.
And it's so interesting because it's not applied across the board. These are particular countries, particular, relationships. There's some tension there, usually between the U.S. president and their president, right? Um, and at the sort of heart of it, you've got a student who has a dream of going to college, and that dream is being impacted by these political forces, and just complicates the kind of work that I think so many folks have to do. And so, how do you then communicate to an international student, you belong here, when the messages coming out of our capital might be, you don't belong here?
Hmm. It's all about what we do,
Yeah.
right? And how do we demonstrate that you are cared about and valued and supported and seen and heard, right? So there are, like, again, there has to be things in place. Like, so a student travels to the States and they get on our campus. Who is welcoming them? Who picked them up from the airport? Who's taking them to Walmart, right? And showing them Walmart is, I mean, we've been to Australia and somewhere else. Like, it's different, right? This is foreign, literally foreign to me, to them. So, walking them through Walmart, helping them. This is not hand holding. This is not babying. This is supporting the student to ensure their success. Letting them know the plan when they get here. Like, this is the person that's going to pick you up. This is the car that you need to be looking for. They're going to probably, they may call you at this time once you land. All these things are important, right? They're going to give you your keys to your dorm. They're going to walk you to your dorm. They're going to make sure you get settled in and let you know, like, here's my number if you need anything the next day. All these things are important. Like, thinking about, wow, yeah. We talked about in the blog, or through conversation too, is like feelings.
Yeah.
How do we make sure the student feels important? And the point is that, how can we make a student feel important if we don't feel ourselves?
Yeah.
Right? So if I don't feel important, if I don't feel that my institution or colleagues or whoever cares about me, it would be really hard for me to do that for someone else.
Yeah.
And as we said, belonging is a feeling, right? So if you don't have that, then, I mean, best of luck to you.
Because feelings transport. It's like when we're together and, I'm on 10 and you're on 9.5, you're going to be on 10 or 10.5 because it transfers. Or if I'm at 8 and you're on 10, I'm headed up because that energy transfers, it passes. That's how feelings are. Listen, anybody we had this in the psych class, right? Where we would tell our students in the psych class when we were co-teaching, how many of you have ever, like, been having a good day and then got around someone who wasn't having a good day, and before you know it, the sky is a little darker, lost the sound of the birds singing and chirping, now you're realizing your back is a little sore and achy, right? Transfer of that energy. It doesn't mean that you can't be around people who are differently emoting, right? It's classic wisdom they teach you in psychology programs. I remember taking a course on counseling where the image was, when working with clients who are dealing with, especially battling depression, they have this image of a person in a hole. The counselor's job is not to get in the hole with them. The counselor's job is to stay up here above ground, and through therapy and other therapeutics and practices and strategies, start offering support, right, to the person to either be there are moments of push and pull. You can pull a person, you can't do it all. The person has to have some agency and want to climb out of the hole. They have to do some things to process what's happening to them. What are these emotions about? What's the origin of them? What are some things I can do to stop revisiting this traumatic space or this thing that happened, right? There's strategies that will get you there, but you cannot climb in the hole with them. And the same is true for feelings. when it comes to belonging. You know, like we're trying to create feelings that students have that they matter and they belong. And you know, you're talking about international students, as you said earlier, it's for all students. Students don't go to college to be judged. They don't go to college to be ignored. They're not going to school to be picked on. Probably important to say during Pride Month, they're not going to school to be, you know, labeled and bullied. They go to school to learn, but they also go to school because they want to make friends. They want to be celebrated. Every single student, we say this to so many teachers across the globe, right? Every single student goes to school because they want to see their teacher say, I did good job. Good job. You got that one right. You can't say it every time. Now, we're not saying say you're right when you're wrong, you know, but be empathetic to the teachers, to the parents, to the grandparents, to the colleagues who are out there. Just recall the last time you had something wrong and someone said, haha, you got that wrong. You know, oh, you take the L. That never feels good for any of us. L means loser for anybody who doesn't know, right? The loss. No one wants that. You want people who be like, no, I'm sorry, that's not correct. But, you know, let's try this again, or here's some ways you can do it. I think people often expect students to come to campus, automatically feel a sense of belonging, or go to a pep rally, hear the band play, and boom, I feel like I belong. We were talking about this, and I'll stop on this point. Everyone's got a history, right? So we have client campuses, correct me if I'm wrong, who will say things like, oh, for building belonging with our students, we're going to have a baseball game, or we're going to take them hiking. And the problem with that is everyone's experience hiking is not the same. There are literally people who are terrified of hiking. So you're going to foster belonging through terror. It doesn't work that way. It cannot happen. Fear does not facilitate belonging, right? Doesn't mean that hiking can't be the activity. It just gets to your point. What are we planning in the communication and the on-ramping to get all of our students ready to hike? Because some students have never hiked before. You got to disassociate hiking from snakes, hiking from hijacked, hiking from, you know, something they saw on 60 Minutes. I'm being serious. You know, like that's what some people's experience is. Like I've been places where people's like, oh, we're going to do something belonging and we're going to go skiing. I've never been skiing. I'm terrified of skiing. When I think skiing, look, I might go one day, but right now I've never done it. And when I think of skiing, I think of falling down a hill, a mountain in cold snow. It doesn't transport to belonging.
Not at all.
Doesn't mean I can't get into it, but there's an on-ramp for me. There's some training for me. There's some socialization of my norms about skiing. You got to replace some of this inaccurate information with accurate information. And I'll shut up, I think. But like I saw part of your plan where you were suggesting to your team the use of YouTube videos. Let's not underestimate the power of those. If I saw what skiing looked like in all of its various forms, if I could watch people who look like me, that's the planning. Hike. And I don't see no snakes. Maybe I'm more interested in it, right? And it starts to be a mechanism for belonging.
That's what I like about the model. I think that, you know, you kind of touched on it, and I'll pick it up, is like, you know, we have a lot of events on our campuses and we throw things out there thinking that it's going to stick. And at the end of the day, people are going to find community and connection. Yeah, it doesn't just work like that, right? You can't just put people in a room and expect them to find their people. You have to plan it out. Now, I think that, to use your examples like hiking, I can tell you right now, ask me to go hiking tomorrow. I'm telling you, I'm going to say no. I'm not doing it. Hiking is not fun for me. You know, there are things like, what if I see a bear? Absolutely not, because the bear is going to kill me. I'm not going to kill the bear, right? So, listen, I'm being funny, but in all seriousness, use the model and look at the second band and anticipate students' needs, anticipate their concerns. So, what are some of the things that will make them, you know, scared to go on this trip? And then let's think about safety. Let's draw safety out and let's talk about it. Let's list it out. Okay, so if we see a bear, right? What are some of the things we have in place to protect our students physically?
Yep.
If we are doing an activity that requires students to do something outside of their normal, and they'll be uncomfortable with it because they may mess up, right? Let's pull out mattering. How can we make this from an individual event to a team event, where people they know that ego extension, that I need you and you need me for us to be successful. If we're not successful, guess what? We fail together.
Right.
Okay, and we are creating a situation for people to communicate and talk, right? If we have students, at in a room, and going to see what do they call it? Spoken word artist. That okay, so got it, but we still want to build community. That third band, we still want people to be have attention, right? That people are paying attention to me. So how are we creating that in that space? Name tag. Everyone has on a name tag. Your name is Terrell Strayhorn. My name is Jaquan Johnson. Sometimes it could be Jaquan or Jawan, right? That's okay. But how are we going to ensure that students are, communicating with each other? Let's build like a bingo card and say, hey, you have to ask someone with the name that their last name starts with an S. Ask them their last, what are they most excited about this year in college?
Like I was just using that example at Bentley. So pick it up, right? So people can hear it even louder. Is people will say, well, we're gonna have orientation. What is that thing called? Silent disco. We're going to have a pep rally. We're going to have a speaker and watch a film. And these events will foster belonging. And what the book that's coming out shows is that just merely being involved in something does not produce belonging. It may produce involvement, like I'm going to put time and energy towards something, but belonging is about relationship, it's about connection, it's about support, it's about all the things you see on the screen: care, mattering, community. Mattering has four components: attention, dependence, importance, and ego extension. So the question becomes, how will we compel people to get to know each other at these events? How will we be sure? Because we've all been to events. You and I have been. You remember that? Okay, TMI, right? Remember that time we were in that was Australia, and they had that reception for us, and we weren't ready to recept yet. We had just gotten off a plane. It was a long trip. You remember that? And
Oh yeah.
like, I don't know, 12, 15 people there to welcome us, but we're sitting over in the corner talking to each other.
Yeah.
What, you can have events and people can still stay separate and apart. Now, what they did well was they literally had a moment where it's like, all right, everybody come to the table. They had, and you just named it. They had a name card for me. They had a name card for you. They put us side by side, and then we ran around the table and introduced ourselves, and they told us who they are and what they do. And then they had table talk, some prompts that all of us had to get into. So they created the conversation until it became more organic. And before you know it, I'm sitting here talking to somebody, you talking to somebody over there. We have not talked to each other in 15 minutes, right? Together, but yet engaging with other people. And so there's a lot to learn from that for the kinds of programs that colleges, universities, schools, and businesses put on for people. Is what is, okay, the name tags. What's the table talk? Jaquin just said it. We've been recommending for people to use, like, you could use a bingo card, right? Where you break it into quadrants and say, go find someone whose last name ends with an S. Go find someone who's studied or who's traveled abroad. Go find someone who's an only child, right? So you make the meeting, the moment, the orientation, the pep rally, the class, scavenger hunt. Here's the other piece that we have realized in studying and talking and theorizing, not really studying, it's theorizing about these, is look what you just did for the student who's an only child. You just created a moment where they feel special because everybody's looking for them. And the moment I discover, I'll say this because my mom's an only child. If my mom was in this session and she's the only, I'm like, hey, everybody, y'all got to come over here and meet Linda. She's the only child. And everybody comes running to the person who meets the qualification, right? But again, that does not happen automatically. It takes the planning of the activity, the execution of the activity. I think that we're onto something here.
Onto something, boy. I'm not even Mama Linda, and I felt special in that moment, because it's so true. You created it, right? Really, belonging has to be created, and that's how you created it, through that activity.
Yep.
But again, as we always say, belonging is not skittles and rainbows. It's not fluff. It does take work. It does take planning. It does take understanding who like the people that you're serving, and doing the things that will compel them to communicate with each other. And literally in that example, you touched on all 4 elements of mattering, if we wanted to walk through it.
That's right. Which we should write through it. But look at this. Jacob has some advice, and that is, he thinks we should stop selling the university and turn back to the student. Why do they want to come? Why do they want to join us? How can we help them? What do they need? Thoughts about that in closing?
My thoughts about that is that the key word in that sentence is selling. And selling is very transactional. That, you know what, I need you to meet my numbers. I need you to, pay the institution's bill so we don't close the doors. Selling, right? And rather than focused on building a relationship, asking them, what are you looking for in an institution?
Yeah.
What are your goals in life, right? I think really good leaders, I guess recruiters, anyone that's doing anything, right? Asking intentional questions is really the way to go.
That's right.
Because you're learning about the person, and then you're meeting, come on, somebody, their needs, right? Because all you have to do is ask them. We always say, how do you create belonging? What do you need to do? One, ask the student, do you feel a sense of belonging at said wherever you are?
Yep.
So questions are more important than trying to sell a dream about the institution to the student.
Yeah. What I like about it too is, and I've said this story before, my dad was a car salesman. He sold furniture and then cars. And I remember at his celebration of life, several people were talking about the fact that my dad sold lots of cars to people, but he never sold a car. The goal was never selling a car. It wasn't like, here's a car, I just want to sell it. Here's an expensive car, I just want to make money off of this car. He got to know the people. And then after he got to know the people, the parent who's trying to buy a car for their kid, or the mom who's trying to buy a car because she's going back to work or whatever, he then used what he learned about the person to match them with the car that they would want, and the car they could afford, and the car that they would wake up the next day and not have buyer's remorse, right? So in all of the selling that we have to do, whether you're a consultant, whether you're a teacher, whether you're a recruiter, whether you're a car salesman, it really starts with the people. People over profits and processes. That you keep the people first. And if you keep the people first, you do good work. And
you do good work. And with that, you can purchase Do Good Work merchandise. Tell us about Kim.
Yeah. Creations by Kim, me. If you are looking for a hoodie, oh man, I have some stuff I want to show. I'll show it for next week. A hoodie. We have an idea for a shirt too. We got to remember to send that one on. A t-shirt, coffee mug. She has buttons now that say Do Good Work. Reach out, DM us, write us on LinkedIn, on social media, send us an email, team@dogoodworkllc.org, or you can go straight to IG, Creations by Kimmy. Get your swag. We'll put some more on. We have to mix it up every now and again since our audiences want different things. But listen, if you are out there, don't be afraid, never be afraid to do something. And if you're going to do something good. Be nice to a person. Today I was at Starbucks and I paid for the person's coffee behind me. So good into the world. And let me tell you what happened. About that. I did. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna intentionally do it. I told the person, what's the person behind me having? They told me. I said, I'm gonna pay for it. Let them know that someone paid for their drink. I went to First Watch, and I went to First Watch. I ordered my breakfast, and the woman came up. She said, I'm gonna go ahead. What do you want to drink? I said, I want coffee. She was like, you can have it. Coffee's on the house. I believe that when you sow good into the universe, good comes back to you. Sometimes it's small, sometimes it's big. Don't be afraid to do something. If you're going to do something good. We call it do good work. Until next time, y'all, take care.
Thank you for tuning in to Do Good Work Podcast. We hope you found today's conversation informative, uplifting, and insightful. Don't forget to like and share this episode with your networks. Follow us on social media at Do Good Work on X, formerly Twitter, for real-time updates, behind-the-scenes content, and so much more. Until next time, friends, don't be afraid to do something, but do something good. Do good work.